Tonight, breakthrough, the major news in the Middle East. Israel and Hamas finally reaching a ceasefire and hostage deal after 15 months of war. The celebration in Gaza as word of the truce spread around the world. President Biden announcing the details at the White House. Dozens of hostages, including Americans, expected to be released during the first 6-week phase. The bloody conflict that began with the deadly Hamas terror attack on Israel, leading to more than 46,000 deaths in Gaza. When will the deal take effect, and can it hold? Richard Engel in Jerusalem. Also tonight, the desperate search for more than 24 people missing as wildfires rage in Southern California. The death toll now at least 25. The confirmation hearings on Capitol Hill for several of President-elect Trump's picks, including his choice for Attorney General Pam Bondi. What she told Democrats who fear Mr. Trump will use the Justice Department to go after his political enemies. President Biden's farewell address in prime time, his final message to the nation after decades in politics. The Southwest flight delayed 5 hours. The pilot arrested for DUI. The FDA banning a red dye used in everything from beverages to candy, the potential cancer risks. And after California's fire disaster, the small businesses ready to rise from the ruins.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. The Middle East is on tenterhooks tonight as news settles in of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas that will see the return of hostages held in Gaza, the release of some prisoners held in Israeli jails, and an end to the fighting. 15 months after the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, the terms of the multi-phase agreement were hammered out on the Gulf state of Qatar, calling for Israeli troops to pull back from Gaza beginning this weekend. Of the 94 hostages, 34 are believed to be dead. Some will gradually be released over a 42-day period while a permanent ceasefire is negotiated. There are believed to be 3 American survivors, and according to senior administration officials, 2 of them will be among those released in the first phase. The ceasefire deal coming together with just days left in the Biden presidency. The president saying he is deeply satisfied this day has finally come. The agreement also celebrated inside Gaza, where more than 46,000 have been killed, according to the government health ministry. Richard Engel is in the Middle East tonight to start us off.
In Gaza, the reaction was immediate and joyful. Relief that the war is coming to an end. Crowds gathered in Israel, too, but with mixed emotions. The hostages are due to come home, but in some cases, only their remains.
After more than 400 days of struggle, a day of success has arrived.
The deal was negotiated by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States. President Biden saying it was built on a framework he proposed last May, and conditions finally made it possible.
After more than 15 months of war, Hamas's senior leaders are dead. With nowhere to turn, Hamas finally agreed to releasing hostages.
The State Department said the involvement of President-elect Trump's envoy in the talks was also critical. Today, Trump posting the epic ceasefire agreement only happened because of his election victory. President Biden was asked who deserved credit.
Who does the history books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke?
The deal is fragile and complex, to be implemented in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. Hamas will release some hostages in return for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. And Israel will withdraw troops from populated areas in Gaza. But a permanent end to the war and the release of all the hostages still needs to be negotiated. In Israel, little celebration in Tel Aviv Square, where families of hostages usually gather. NBC's Danielle Hamamjan is there.
There are only a few people gathered here tonight at Hostage Square. One family member telling me they want to see all the hostages back before they can celebrate.
Jimmy Miller's cousin and her children, a 10-month-old baby and a 4-year-old boy, were kidnapped.
I will believe to everything when I will see it in my eyes that it's happening. I will believe it only in the second that I will see.
This latest conflict began on October 7th, when Hamas massacred 1,200 people in Israel and took more than 250 hostages. Among them, 12 Americans. Only 3 are thought to be still alive. 2 are on the list for Phase 1 release. Lester recently spoke to the families of the Americans, including the sister of 20-year-old Idan Alexander, who's not on the list.
So it's been like a year that my best friend that I was growing up with has just been like gone from my life. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's been very difficult.
In Gaza tonight, people were hanging on every word as news trickled in that a deal was coming. And when it was confirmed, the streets were jammed. Palestinians overjoyed that the bombings will stop and more food and medicine will come in. According to local officials, nearly 47,000 Palestinians were killed during the war. As for her reaction, Narmeen Al-Suba said, "How can I celebrate tonight when my father, brother, and uncles were killed?"
And Richard, you've spent a lot of time in that part of the world. This doesn't look easy. A lot of moving parts at work here.
There are many moving parts. First, the deal has to be formally approved by the Israeli government tomorrow, although that is expected. And then, as we've been stressing, this deal takes place in phases. The first batch of hostages, 33, are only supposed to be released over the course of 42 days. And if that goes smoothly and Israeli troops pull back, will things advance to the next stage, which still needs to be negotiated. Lester.
Okay, Richard, thank you. And as Richard mentioned, we've been speaking with the families of the American hostages for months now. A short time ago, I spoke with Adi Alexander. He's the father of American hostage Idan Alexander. I asked him how he's feeling with the news of the deal.
I'm very happy and grateful that finally, this deal is being sealed. It's unbelievable.
There are so many American families who you all created this incredible bond. We've talked to you over the many months. What is your feeling for the entire group now, of Americans especially?
The mixed feelings. I'm really happy about everybody, but on the other hand, we have 4 American hostages that were murdered on October 7th and still being held there. So, but hopefully the parents will get their loved ones for the proper burial, and we will get our loved ones to live our lives happily ever after.
What do you know about the conditions that Idan has been in?
Other than the last video on the Thanksgiving's weekend, which showed us a sign of life, we have no additional information.
Have you played over in your mind what the moment will be like when you're able to embrace your son?
Just hug him and hold him, and just to hear what he experienced in those 16 months.
And what will you want to say to him?
Thank you for holding. You are our hero, and be strong, and just hug him and kiss him.
Adi, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story, not only today, but over the many months.
Thank you, Lester.
Let's turn to the wildfire emergency in Southern California now, with the battle against the 2 biggest fires far from over. Tonight, signs of progress, though, as schools open their doors to displaced students. Here's Morgan Chesky with that.
Tonight, signs of progress amid disaster.
In the past 24 hours, there's been little to no fire growth on both incidents.
Red flag warnings finally expiring over the more than 60 square miles left blackened and charred. The 14,000-acre Eaton fire now 45% contained. The larger Palisades fire at 19% containment and counting. Search and rescue teams canvassing burn zones, with 26 people still missing. For the families who lost everything, today, a turning point.
We have school today.
The Dale family getting their girls ready for their first day back at a brand new campus after losing their beloved home and school.
I think our commute, we had it about 3 minutes in Palisades, and so we're about probably over an hour today.
Wow. What? An extra early morning made easier when the girls met our crew's microphone.
That's all I can hear.
With donated backpacks ready to go.
Good morning. Welcome.
They arrived at a Brentwood Elementary School, now absorbing hundreds of displaced students.
Can play with their friends and have a normal day. We're just so happy to give them normalcy because they were so happy this morning.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
and it comes in waves.
We wanted kids to be with their trusted teachers and their trusted principals and support staff during this time of anxiety, stress, and crisis.
Back on the fire line, crews working around the clock.
12-hour shifts. How are you guys holding up?
Spirit, everything's good. They're asking a lot of us, and they're putting 100%.
Their mission, scour charred earth to keep hotspots from starting yet another blaze.
It's tough for the public to understand, why is the fire not contained? I'm not seeing anything, but this is really the important stuff.
And Morgan joins us now. It was great to see the kids going back to school. You're in the Palisades. Any update when displaced residents will be able to return?
Yeah, Lester, officials tell me that they want to get people home as quickly as possible, but they do admit they're running into both safety and infrastructure issues, among them broken gas lines, down power lines, and plenty of hazardous materials. Lester.
All right, Morgan Chesky, thanks. On Capitol Hill today, President-elect Trump's choices for Attorney General and Secretary of State were among those facing questioning at Senate confirmation hearings. Ryan Nobles now with late details.
Tonight, a split-screen moment on Capitol Hill, with half a dozen high-stakes confirmation hearings for President-elect Trump's cabinet picks, including his choice to lead the Justice Department, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, who vowed to keep politics out of the prosecutorial process.
There will never be an enemies list within the Department of Justice.
Bondi replaced Trump's original choice for the job, former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who withdrew when it was clear he could not win enough Republican votes. Bondi is expected to be confirmed by the Republican Senate.
I'm glad he picked you. He knows you, he trusts you, and you're highly qualified.
But today, Senate Democrats grilling her over potential Trump pardons for some January 6 participants.
Do you believe that those who've been convicted of the January 6 riot, violent assaults on our police officers, should be pardoned? That's a simple question.
So, Senator, I have not seen any of those files, but let me be very clear in speaking to you. I condemn any violence on a law enforcement officer in this country.
And this heated moment over Trump's comments about Liz Cheney.
I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on
asked
what you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called,
also
the
worried
president,
about Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
You know
called
what we
for
should
this.
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi,
The
please
crime rate
answer
in
my
California.
questions.
Also expected to be confirmed, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, up for the post of Secretary of State. Today, saying he disagreed with the Biden administration's decision yesterday to remove Cuba from the list of state sponsors of terrorism.
Do you believe Cuba is a state sponsor of terrorism?
Without a question. We know that Cuba has been friendly towards Hamas and Hezbollah openly.
And Rubio forecasting the future Trump administration's approach to ending the war in Ukraine.
It is important for everyone to be realistic. There will have to be concessions made by the Russian Federation, but also by the Ukrainians, and the United States has lent itself there.
So, Ryan, I guess this all comes out of the question, did these hearings impact the chances for these nominees to be confirmed?
Well, Lester, if every Democrat votes no, these nominees can still afford to lose 3 Republican votes and still win confirmation. And right now, none appear to be in any danger. In fact, GOP leaders are hoping to move forward with the confirmation process on Monday after Trump's inauguration, the first likely vote being for Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Lester?
Ryan Nobles, thanks. Tonight, just 5 days before he leaves office, President Biden delivering his farewell address, citing his achievements as a long political career nears its end. Here's Peter Alexander.
After more than 50 years in public life, President Biden speaking directly to the American people one last time. An Oval Office address punctuating days of final events.
After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas.
The president insisting Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago.
In the past 4 years, our democracy has held strong. And every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
His focus tonight defining his legacy ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration next week, with Trump already vowing to roll back many of Biden's signature initiatives.
I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election.
Still, President Biden is not leaving the way he wanted. His last primetime address 6 months ago, announcing amid pressure from his party he was dropping out of the race.
I revere this office, but I love my country more.
A half-century after arriving as one of the youngest senators in modern history, tonight, a final farewell.
My eternal thanks to you, the American people. After 50 years of public service, I give you my word. I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands. A nation where the strength of our institutions and the character of our people matter and must endure.
Peter Alexander, NBC News, the White House.
In 60 seconds, the Southwest pilot arrested, taken off his plane and accused of DUI. Plus, more trouble in the air over chronic lateness. That's next. A Southwest Airlines flight was delayed nearly 5 hours today after police boarded the plane and arrested the pilot for driving under the influence. Tom Costello is following this for us. Tom, what happened?
Yeah, this happened at Savannah Hilton Head Airport this morning on a flight that was supposed to go to Chicago Midway. Airport police removed pilot David Alsop from the plane this morning and arrested him for driving under the influence. He was booked into the Chatham County Jail on a $3,500 bond. Southwest says the employee has been removed from duty. Customers were accommodated on other flights, and we apologize for the disruption to their travel plans. Under the FAA's so-called bottle-to-throttle rule, pilots are supposed to wait at least 8 hours after their last drink before flying, or if they have a blood alcohol rating greater than 0.04. Lester?
And Tom, the Transportation Department also announced it's suing Southwest for operating chronically delayed flights.
Yeah, that's right. The Biden DOT accuses Southwest of operating 180 flights back in 2022 that were chronically delayed with unrealistic schedules. Southwest says it's disappointed in the suit, saying last year it completed 99% of its flight without cancellations. The DOT has also fined JetBlue and Frontier for allegedly chronically delayed flights. Lester?
All right, Tom, thank you. Up next, it's in sodas, candies, cookies, and a lot more. Why the FDA is now banning red dye number 3. The FDA today banning a controversial red dye found in so many foods sold in the U.S., citing a risk of cancer. Ann Thompson is with us. Ann, why red dye?
Well, Lester, this red dye is red dye number 3, and it's what makes maraschino cherries, strawberry milkshakes, candies, and many other food products a color so appealing you just can't resist. Well, the FDA says no more. It is banning the synthetic dye made from petroleum because of 2 studies that showed high levels caused cancer in male rats. Food manufacturers will have 2 years to reformulate their products. Red dye number 3 was banned in cosmetics some 35 years ago. This is a big win for advocacy groups, Lester, who have been literally fighting for decades to get this ban.
Okay, Ann, thanks very much. We'll take a break. Up next, startup culture after the wildfires. The small businesses vowing to come back from the ruins. Next. Finally, the wildfires have taken so much from Southern California, but Jacob Soboroff reports many small business owners are vowing to rise again.
This is the epicenter of the Eaton Fire Zone here in Altadena. Small businesses are the backbone for so many locals here, and so many of them have been decimated. This was a pizza place called Side Pie. I actually had my son's 9th birthday here just over a month ago. Look inside. Even the pizza oven burned.
Kevin Hawkins started Side Pie during the pandemic.
I have 13, 14 employees, and it's like my heart breaks.
He and partner Rosanna Kvermo run several small businesses in the area.
You can't get to your house?
No.
And your daughter's school is closed?
Yes.
So it's not just the small business?
No.
No.
While the entire shop caught fire, the back courtyard, typically filled with families and kids, didn't burn.
What's it like to be back here?
When I saw the tables, I was like, oh yes, this is definitely coming back. This community is so special, and it's so really special to have a business here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Down the road, the Chikura family lost rhythms of the village. their shop and the only African store in the San Gabriel Valley.
I saw the shop fully ablaze, and I screamed. I felt sad, I felt all the emotions, and then I came to the conclusion that we can rebuild, and those are material things. What matters is that we're all alive.
What are you bringing in?
Now they're using their home to coordinate donations for the community.
Bedding, clothes, shoes, random.
We appreciate it. Bring it on down. That's the way I was raised, being communal. So it's almost divine that we're back here, back at square one, and in a position to support anybody in need right now.
Even as you guys are hurting.
Yes,
yeah, of course, yeah.
That's our spirit.
Yeah, because in my culture, if you have, I have. If I have, you have.
A week after they lost everything, a community facing the future together. Jacob Soberoff, NBC News, Altadena, California.
And that is Nightly News for this Wednesday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.